Good to go.
Welcome back to the Veterans in Politics Interviews with Candidates. It is April 7th, Saturday. We want to thank you for being here. We want to thank our panelists again for being here. Our next race is the Nevada Attorney General's office, and we have one candidate here right now, is Joel Hansen. We want to thank you. We're going to give you 2 minutes, by the way, to state your name and your little bio. So, Mr. Hansen, you ready?
I am ready.
Okay, sir.
Is this thing working?
Yes, it's on.
Is it on?
Yes,
Okay. Can you hear me? Great. Oh, there's Craig. Good morning, everyone.
Yep. So,
Hi, Craig.
so
Nice
you
to see you.
you have 2 minutes to give your bio, your name and your bio.
All right, thank you.
No, not you yet, Mr. Hansen right now. Thank you, sir.
Well, I was born and raised in Nevada. I was born up in Reno, raised in Sparks, graduated in Sparks High School. Later on, I went to BYU Hawaii, it's called now, and then I went for foreign service for a couple of years, and then I came back and graduated with honors from Brigham Young University. And then I came back to Sparks and taught school for 4 years. And after that, I decided I wanted to go to law school, so I took the LSAT and was accepted again. I went back to my alma mater, Brigham Young University, that's J. Reuben Clark Law School. I graduated there with honors. And I was hired by the district attorney down here in Las Vegas, so I came here. That was George Holt. I worked there for a while. And then I went into private practice, and I've been in private practice ever since. I do a lot of defense work, and I do a lot of government agency work representing people who are being persecuted by government agencies or wronged. I'm rated VA by the American Bar Association, or no, by Martindale-Hubbell, which is very high ethics and high excellence in attorneys' ability and skill, what it basically means. So that's basically is the highest honor you can receive from the national ratings group, the Martindale-Hubbell. I guess it's AV. I've been very involved in the community since I came here to Las Vegas. I've been very involved in my church and very involved in the Boy Scouts of America. I'm an Eagle Scout, and I was very honored to receive the Scouting's highest local award, the Silver Beaver, probably 10 or 15 years ago, which is an award for long-standing and outstanding service to the Boy Scouts of America, especially the young men, boys.
Your 2 minutes is up, sir.
All right, that's it.
Appreciate it. So now we have candidate Mr. Craig Mueller here, and you have 2 minutes to state your bio and who you are.
Oh, thank you. My name's Craig Mueller.
Here.
Oh, microphone? We got
Because
everything.
we're live feed. We're live feed.
All right, thank you. My name's Craig Mueller. I grew up in Las Vegas. My family has ties going back to the 50s in Las Vegas. My grandfather actually managed a store at the convenience of a gas station at the corner of Las Vegas Boulevard and Fremont. That's what they tell me. I don't know that. I was born, my mother had me across when I was born over in Victorville, and then she moved back up here. I went to elementary school, Sunrise Acres Elementary School. I went to Roy Martin High School. Went to Quantum McCall 6th Grade Center, and then I went to El Dorado High School. I played football there and wrestled. I was All-State honorable mention for the El Dorado football team. We won Sunrise Championship that year. I was appointed to go up to Governor's Boy State, where I was elected governor. I then sought and was appointed to the United States Naval Academy by Senator Laxalt in 1979. I attended the Naval Academy, graduating in the class of '83. Was assigned to the USS Julius A. Fuhrer in the Persian Gulf during the Tanker War. Had a couple close calls, but nothing really heroic, but got ourselves scared to death a few times. Returned from the Persian Gulf, we were sent off the coast of Nicaragua. I did some counterintelligence operations there. Then we were getting ready to do our second deployment to the Persian Gulf, and we were reassigned to Philadelphia Naval Shipyard, where he who serves also grinds rust. So I spent a year in South Philadelphia, where I met some very colorful people. Vince Chehade, I still remember Vince. Served there at the, wanted to see the ship through overhaul. My detailer didn't see it that way, and I got orders to Washington on shore duty, where I went from running the engineering department to being a desk jockey at the Naval Bureau of Personnel. I went over and was admitted into University of Baltimore Law School at night, finished it in 4 years, worked for a judge, and then returned here in 1993.
Got 2 minutes up, so we appreciate that. You'll have a chance at the end to give a little bit more statements. So
Certainly.
This is the Nevada Attorney General interview, so we're going to turn it over to our panelists. They will ask a couple of questions. You'll have a minute to answer them, a minute. So I will let you know. We keep a tight schedule, a tight ship around here. So again, we really want to appreciate you gentlemen for being here. So who would like to go first on our panelists? They're pointing to Mr. McDonald over there.
Thank you, gentlemen, for being here and for being before the panel today. I have a question. As being Attorney General and part of the executive branch, you have a unique position to hold judicial officers accountable that violate constitutional rights under Title 18, Section 242. We've been noticing a lot of judicial officers that violate constitutional rights and are not held accountable. I was wondering, as your position, would you guys be able to look into cases that in which our citizens are being aggrieved and be able to address those issues?
Go ahead.
There are 2 levels of scrutiny that a judge gets. The first and most thorough is the Judicial Disciplinary Commission. Those proceedings are generally held outside of the public. I've been involved in a couple of those. In a court case, almost a certainty somebody's going to walk away unhappy. So there's a lot of false claims or trumped up, or a lot of emotion usually gets involved in those kind of claims. The Judicial Disciplinary Committee, however, does in fact take actions, and I actually represented a judge. We went all the way up to the Nevada Supreme Court, and the Judicial Discipline Commission does in fact have the right to review judge. What you're referring to would be a criminal charge. That would be going so far past normal judicial ethics and actually doing something that would be criminal in nature. I would not hesitate if you had evidence, or we had meaningful evidence that a judge was committing crimes. I would not hesitate to prosecute.
Okay, minute. State your name too, please.
Joe Hansen. I'll agree with what Craig said there, and I'd like to add a comment about something that's going on right now. It's called organized criminal elder abuse, and there's a judge here in Las Vegas who routinely gives ex parte, meaning only one side's there, orders for elderly people to be declared incompetent and then assigned to old folks' homes forcibly, and everything is taken away from them. All their property is given to the person that's charged with taking care of them, and then they lose everything. This scam, this criminal activity has to stop, and I'm going to prosecute the judicial officers involved and the guardians that are involved.
I would hope that you'd hold the family court judges as well. There was a big influx of it. Thank you.
Next, please. State your name and the question, and then they have a minute to answer it.
George Chehade, also want to thank you gentlemen for being with us this morning. There's a ton of things that you could have done, and we really appreciate you joining us. Just want to ask kind of a general question for each of you. What would you like to accomplish if you were to become the next Nevada Attorney General? And also, what do you feel that needs to be changed?
Did you turn this on first? It's the power. Where's that on switch?
Is there a green light on it?
No,
green
light.
Press and hold the button in the middle.
Well, mute. It says mute down there.
Just press and hold it until it turns green.
Okay.
All right.
Well, one of the things that I've noticed lately is that the Second Amendment is under great attack. Justice John Paul Stevens has come out and said the Second Amendment ought to be repealed. And we have this question of the schools being unsafe because they're gun-free zones. I would promote a program of getting teachers qualified for concealed carry so that they can take a gun and lock it in their desk and have it available. Not all teachers, just those that are willing, so that one of these crazy people who want to come in and shoot our children would know that there's a good number of people in the schools who have guns, who can shoot back. Right now, all they can do is hide in closets and cower under their desks and so on, and it's pretty awful. So that's one of the things I would promote. And there is a law in Nevada that says that a teacher can keep a gun in his classroom if the principal agrees. I saw a recent article that said, well, the superintendent of schools is saying, hold off on this, we're going to develop a process for evaluating that. But that law was passed in 1989, and they've never implemented it. I would see to it that I would do everything in my power to implement that law so we can protect our children from these terrible people that come in and kill them.
State your name again, please.
Oh, thank you. This is Craig Mueller. Yeah, I have a slightly different view than my colleague here. I believe the most important issue in Nevada is land. We need to get the federal government out of our state. The top priority for me would be to sue the federal bureau or federal government to get the Bureau of Land Management out of our state. We cannot be a full-fledged state if we are being governed by a series of federal bureaucrats. This is not true. This is not happy. This is not a good statement, but it's actually a simple fact. Most important person in this state is the Secretary of the Interior. He has more actual power than any elected official about what happens in Nevada. That is not the way the Constitution was designed. There is no constitutional authority for a Bureau of Land Management. I would go into federal court and actually in front of the United States Supreme Court and sue for the removal of the Bureau of Land Management, or at least use it as leverage to get more land. I've been in every community in this state now, with the exception of Laughlin. I didn't make it down there yet. Every community has problems and prices are going up because there's no land to develop.
All right, next panelist, state your name.
This is Petarra. So one thing that Adam Laxalt did as Attorney General was he basically stopped question 1. Now, as a gun owner myself, I legally obtained my AR-15, I have my bump stock legally, I have my drum mag legally. All this stuff is legal. One of the Democrats who's leading the way there basically says you're going to take it by force. What are you going to do to safeguard my Second Amendment right that I fought for?
Well, actually, you've got even more rights than you realize. Not only does the Second Amendment grant you rights, there's also the Nevada Declaration of Rights gives you rights against the government. I read, and before I came forward and talked to anybody about voting for me, I actually went back and I read the Constitution. I went back and listened to the Federalist Papers. I read the Anti-Federalist essays, and I read the state Constitution. You have a right to a firearm. You have a right to a militarily useful firearm. The Founding Fathers did not trust the government. They believed, and this is a revolutionary country. One seems to forget this. This country was founded in revolution. My ancestors, the Oldhams, picked up muskets and chased the king's men up and down the eastern seaboard. I guess you guys are losing the battery on this.
Battery? Good batteries.
My ancestors chased up and down the eastern seaboard after the king's men. They were not about to give their rights to have firearms up to a foreign bureaucracy. I believe firmly that the Founding Fathers wanted and do, the Second Amendment does protect militarily useful firearms. The Second Amendment is a talking point for the liberals. They love blaming guns, which in my view is like blaming cars for drunk driving. It just doesn't make any sense. I will protect the Second Amendment. In fact, candidly, I go even one step further. I'd like to see every young man between his junior and senior year in high school get up 60 days of basic militia service. I believe we should actually, instead of actually demonizing the firearms. Joel and I both know this Las Vegas Valley has changed dramatically. When I was a kid here in high school, we used to have pickup trucks with gun racks and shotguns in the parking lot all day at school. Nobody thought about bringing them in. No one even considered it. No one even thought twice about it. Now, there's two issues here. Everyone's talking about firearms. No one's talking about the root cause of this, which is the decriminalization of mental health.
You can go ahead. Thank you.
I'd like to go back for a minute to the last issue about the land. I would say that that's just as important to me as the Second Amendment. And I was actually Clive Bundy's lawyer, and I represented in civil cases also over this issue of who owns the land in Nevada. Nevada has a law that says Nevada owns the land. And as the Attorney General, I would do everything in my power to enforce that law. And I would educate the sheriffs in Nevada that they are the highest law enforcement officers in the county, not the BLM and not the Forest Service. Now, as far as guns, I've already alluded to that. I think we need an educational program for all the people in Nevada to understand, just like Greg said, that the Second Amendment was not for the purpose of hunting. Now, we also have a version of the Second Amendment in our state constitution which says it's for hunting, for defense, and for other lawful purposes. Our Second Amendment, so to speak, is stronger than the Federal Amendment. So we have more rights in Nevada, but the main purpose of the Second Amendment was, as my ancestors who fought in the Revolutionary War under George Washington knew, so that they could go on their mantle and get their musket and shoot redcoats. That's what it was about. It was about defending yourself from tyrants. And that's what we need to have, is guns against tyrants.
All right, so we have time for one more panelist question. So who would like to answer that? There you go. State your name, please, and you have 1 minute to answer.
My name is Lena Ocasio. I'm a victim of domestic violence, and Marcy's Law is really important to me, and actually not having Marcy's Law right now in Nevada has affected my life. My question is, do you support Marcy's Law? And if it's not passed this year by the voters, what will you do to protect the rights of victims?
Well, tell me what Marcy's Law is. I'm certainly against domestic violence.
Marcy's Law is to protect victims, whereas if something happens to a case, a criminal case, for example, like a domestic violence case, that the victim will always be informed of anything that happens throughout the entire process, if the case is reopened, if the perpetrator is released from prison, things like that.
I am totally for that. I think that domestic violence is a national disgrace. It's an epidemic, and it's got a lot of causes. One of the causes is that we've lost our foundation of belief in God in this country, and people don't have a basic moral foundation anymore. So I have been doing everything I can about that for my whole adult life. I would instruct everyone that's under my authority to prosecute domestic violence as much as possible so that we can stop this terrible epidemic that's going on. I think we should do everything you can to stop it, and I will do so.
I've prosecuted domestic violence cases as a young prosecutor. I prosecuted domestic violence cases before we had the domestic violence law. It was simple battery. I actually had to have police officers go, directed police officers with their help to go arrest a woman who had been beaten horribly. I understand the problem completely. I also represent victims or domestic violence charges on a regular basis. Much of what we do under that Marcy's Law proposal that is being brought forward is already done in Nevada. And God bless, I don't know what happened to you, but the reality is we do almost all of those things already. When that whole scheme was passed, we do most of those things. Now, I hate to sound like a lawyer, the way that Marcy's Law is written right now, if it does pass, it's going to get struck down. It's overly broad, and it's been struck down in several other states. Somebody needed to do a better job with that, because it transfers from the state. A criminal case belongs to the state. It transfers authority from the state to the victims, and everywhere it's been challenged, it's been struck down. Good news is most of what we do, most of what goes on in our courts is already covered by Marcy's Law. Bad news is, as it's written, I don't see it surviving the challenge. So I support it. Unfortunately, it's a flawed mechanism, at least as it's written now.
Okay, so with that, we wrapped up the panelists, and we're going to give each one of you guys 2 minutes to say why somebody should vote for you. So I will give you 2 minutes, and I will let you know when the 2 minutes is done. Thank you.
The Constitution of the United States has been a hobby of mine ever since I was a young man. I think that one of the major problems with our country is that we don't follow the Constitution. So I will do everything I can in my power to see to it that Nevada follows the Constitution. That means that we would control our own land here in Nevada against the authority of the BLM. I would do everything I can to educate sheriffs that they are the highest law enforcement officer in their county. I would also do everything in my power to prosecute illegal immigrants who commit crimes and cooperate with the federal government in reporting them to ICE in opposition to what's going on in California. I think that the right of trial by jury needs to be protected in Nevada, and often in the bureaucratic administrative hearings, it's not. In fact, you never get a jury trial if you're in an OSHA or other such situation. And another thing I think we need to do is have body cams for the police and enforce the law that says they're supposed to carry them. They have those. We have administrative regulations right now, and I'm going to promote that. Both the citizens and the police are better behaved when they have body cams. It controls everybody's behavior when they know that that's there. And I think that the citizens should have the right to have to use cameras to film the police. Basically, I think that the Attorney General ought to see to it that all the administrative agencies in Nevada follow the Constitution and do not abuse people's rights, and that the Attorney General should enforce the laws of the state of Nevada. That's what I would do, and that's why I think I would be a very good Attorney General. Thank you.
I've done 150
State
jury.
your name, please.
Oh, I'm Craig Mueller. I've done 150 jury trials. I was in court on Friday. I would be the most experienced and most aggressive Attorney General in the history of the state. I've been fortunate enough to do civil work. I've done criminal work, done a trial against, handled a case against Joel actually. In fact, we're actually working together on a case. Having said that, I've run my own business for 20 years. I've got 25, or was up to 23 employees. I'm down to about 12 right now. It seems to work a little better. Having said that, I firmly agree that the state constitution is not being enforced. I've done a video, it's on my website, about the state not giving constitutional jury trials to people. I believe in the Second Amendment. Nobody needs to worry about the Second Amendment on my watch. There will be no sanctuary cities on my watch. And the other thing that nobody's touched on or asked about is we need a voter identification card. And if you vote for me and I get elected as Attorney General, I promise this state and that office will never quite be the same again. We're going to do things very differently than they've been done. I don't know how the office went from being a lawyer's job to being a politician's job. I think it handed some time about Bob List, but I want to return that job to being a lawyer's job and have lawyers that actually go into court instead of talk.
We thank you so much, gentlemen, for being here. We've got two candidates here for Attorney General. That's the Nevada Attorney General. We have Mr. Joel Hansen and Mr. Craig Mueller. We want to thank you for being here on behalf of the Veterans in Politics. Again, ladies and gentlemen, this concludes our candidate interview for the Nevada Attorney General. And of course, we want to thank our sponsors, Ron Q for Clark County Treasurer, Michael Broadway Real Estate, and Real Water, and of course, the Lakeside Business Center here. Again, that concludes our interview with the Nevada State Attorney General. Thank you.